And now I have the distinct pleasure of inviting a graduate of Brock University, in fact, a graduate of the Goodman School of Business and a recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award of the Goodman School of Business and Brock, Mr. Jason Sparaga, to give the convocation address.
Thank you, Jack. No hoot, no holler. Jack and Barry, faculty members, Susan, thank you for organizing. Ladies and gentlemen of the School of Business, graduating class of 2016, friends and family of the graduates, it's my privilege to speak to you this afternoon. I'm truly honored and grateful. Thank you. So parents, I was in your seat just the other day. My daughter, our daughter, Chelsea, who's sitting here in the audience, just graduated a couple of days ago. And I know the feeling of pride that you must feel at this moment, and also the feeling, of course, of emotional and financial relief that you must be feeling as well. So congrats to you first and foremost. So big round of applause for your parents. It's very interesting for me to have this opportunity to think back to my own graduation and our commencement speaker. I do recall the day well. Actually, I don't recall the day at all, to be honest. I know. I recall nothing about that day at all, in fact. I don't remember who spoke, what he or she may have said, and I don't actually remember the day at all. But I know that I graduated because I have a piece of paper on my wall in my office with my name on it, and Brock Alumni Association is in touch a lot. And of course, here I am speaking to all of you today, so I must have graduated, right? But what I can assure you is that any success I have had to date had nothing to do with what may or may not have been said at that graduation. I suspect that that is generally the case, but maybe, just possibly, I can change that for you today. So let me make this very simple for you. If you take one thing away from what I'm going to say today, it's about being yourself. That must be your one constant. You're going to have a lot of people coming at you in the next little while, asking you to make some very tough decisions and make them fast. Where to work, where to live, who to stay in touch with, what to drive, how hard to work, where to work, who to sleep with, who not to sleep with, who to marry, who not to marry, if and when to have kids, so your shit's about to get real, as they say. They'll try to make try to get you to make those decisions in a way, though, that aligns with their version of you. And you may even want to give in to those pressures just to make them happy. But I ask you to not do that. Don't give in to that pressure. You do you better than anybody else does. Right? And if things go sideways in the meantime, don't worry. Remember this. Things are never as bad or as good as they seem. So let me reflect on myself. In my first few years post-university, I busted my ass and got my CA. I went to work for a big firm, but I always hated the work. So I quit that firm as soon as I could, and before I was fired. So here was lesson number one for me. I make a terrible employee. Then I got married, and I had my son Jack. And I started an investment bank inside another accounting firm. I made a whole bunch of money very quick before I realized how culturally disconnected I was and went Jerry Maguire with my partner, Eric. So I got separated and I got divorced. My money was gone. And here was lesson number two. I did all of that to make somebody else happy. So a few years after that, I was fortunate. I was able to marry the love of my life, Michelle, and inherited her, yes. And I inherited her amazing kids, Chelsea and her sister, Maddie. Does anybody want to applaud Chelsea? Jack moved in with us, and we had our daughter together, Izzy. We bought a house, we sold a house, we bought another house, we sold another house, we bought a cottage, we renovated that cottage, we bought another house, we took vacations, we made friends and memories together, we closed deals, I lost some more money, and then completely changed the course of my career with my partners and started Spark Power Corp. Here's lesson number 3. Despite how crazy this sounds, all that time, this felt right. Why? Because it was based on my one constant, to be myself. And when I roll it back even further and think about other experiences that I had before Brock, there was that one constant. 25 years ago, when I started my first business in university, selling roses to drunks in bars, in nightclubs, in Niagara Falls, New York, places like The Late Show, the Library, Club Exit, Sharky's, the usual. Talking to the parents, of course, here. And kids, if your parents just laughed nervously, there's a pretty good chance you might have been conceived over there. And who knows, maybe my flowers were the tipping point for that brought your parents together in a 1989 Ford Taurus. I'm just saying. But if I roll it right back to first year and my temporary stay at Western, right after high school, I remember my personal disconnect with everything there, with the school, with the professors, and with many of the other students in my program, and the tough decision to pull the plug. And in all those cases, there's this one constant for me, the who is for me. Through all of that, when I was true to myself and aggressively pursued the things that felt like me in a way that they felt like me, they tended to work out for the best. And when I did things that didn't seem like me or in a way that somebody else thought I should go about doing them, they tended not to work out. And when action I took was consistent with the values and my passions, the wins were sweeter and the losses more tolerable. So here's what I mean. The constant for me and who Jason Sparaga is. So here's where I get current with my technology. I'm going to try to take a selfie here for everybody. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that? My family didn't think I'd actually do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Wait. Everybody lean in. Yeah. Hey, that actually worked. That was good. Thank you. So for me, myself, I'm a fighter. From an early age, I've always been very confident. I've been smart enough, sufficiently social, had a decent sense of fairness and justice, and I've never been afraid of hard work. And of course, as Barry pointed out this morning, I'm devilishly handsome, right, Gary? Or Barry? Right. But if I had to pick one superpower for me that defines me, it's my desire to compete at a very high level, and a level that is slightly beyond my capabilities, punching above my weight, so to speak. My teammates in sport, work, and life would call me a digger and a scrapper and a few other things I can't repeat here. But at my core, I love the fight. And it's not just fighting for the sake of it, because I'm insecure or I want to be mean. That's for bullies, right? It's because I love being the underdog. For me, the greatest thing in life is having success in the face of overwhelming odds. From an early age in the schoolyard, on the rink, the field, in the classroom, on the dance floor, in the dating scene, case in point, my wife, when the odds were stacked against me and I had no choice but to fight hard, my performance was at its best. And I was the best version of myself. But understand that's of myself, not the best human on the planet, the best version of me. Nobody likes to lose, least of all me, but what I found, if the competition was tough enough and I tried my hardest, but lost, the losing didn't matter as much. When I'm in the hunt, I'm not afraid to lose, and I'm not afraid to take risks and get hurt. And the lessons you learn, they're just that much clearer, and they make you stronger and smarter. Being this way isn't right for everyone. Plenty of times it's led to embarrassment, or as they say, getting my ass handed to me. And there are situations where you really shouldn't try your hardest. Now, I wish I could share my personal experience in learning this lesson from an incident during my father-daughter soccer game with my daughter Izzy, but my lawyer says I can't discuss active litigation, so we'll just move past that. But for those of us who love competition, it can't just be for the final score. Because what I've learned is that too many times the score is just a product of things that are way beyond your control. A bad bounce, bad weather, a better opposing team, or even just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. What you can control and what does matter is how hard you go into the corners and how quickly you get up, shake it off when you're knocked down. And this constant has served me well, relishing this underdog role, competing hard, and not being afraid to fail. Failure, to me, is nothing to do with losing. It's only about not trying my hardest for something that is just out of reach. Based on my desire to compete as the underdog and my story, this makes absolute sense to me. I think you get the theme. The point is to figure out what makes sense for you, what drives you, and what excites you. What makes you want to compete and be the best version of yourself. I encourage you to really look inside and reflect on what feels like you and try something that plays to the strengths. And if you were wrong, get out of that as quick as possible, move on and try something else. There's no right path. That being said, the fact that you are graduating from Brock and Goodman at Brock really should be telling you about something about who you are. It is likely you too will relish the role of an underdog. We all know Goodman and Brock is a great school, but it's a new school. And in my experience, the sense of entitlement absolutely exists amongst the crowd at the old guard schools. You know, the Queens, the Westerns, the U of T's. But you guys are going up against people who don't work harder than you. They're no smarter than you, and certainly not nearly as hungry. And it's conceivable, though, however, that their A's and their diplomas will be viewed as better because of where they came from. So realize you're the underdog and relish it. Don't resent it. Find your strength and find a way. Want it, earn it, persist, be more resourceful, be more cunning, try harder, stay later, outfox and outwit, outlast. Don't wait for it to come to you, because it never does. When you're afraid, ask yourself, really, what's the worst thing that could happen? So you lose something you didn't have in the first place? Remember, things are never as bad or as good as they seem. The truth is, at Spara Capital and Spark Power, we don't care where you came from, where you went to school, or what your mommy or daddy does. We look for hidden gems, the ones ready to learn, to work hard, make money, and have fun doing it. The underdogs. Today in our office, we have 8 Brock grads, and our last 5 hires are from Goodman. They are thriving, and so are we, so it seems to be clear, Badgers are underdogs, right? This highlights why I'm truly proud to have had the honor to deliver this speech today. I hereby pass the torch to you, and you are all now members of Team Underdog. Goodman School of Business Class of 2016, congratulations, good luck, find your strength and compete. You have nothing to gain but yourselves. Thank you, and game on.